What's up, everybody? Azario here for a Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 discussion video. And in these discussion videos, I just bring up certain topics that is just meant to stir up some conversation within the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, be it on YouTube, be it on the Pojo forums, or wherever Yu-Gi-Oh! Is spoken about. That's what these videos are meant for, to spark up some conversation. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about cards that should have never been made. Now, for a lot of people that have been playing this game for, I would say, for like the past 3 years, or these people just got started playing the game uh, within the last 3 years, you guys could probably name a couple of cards that you feel shouldn't have been made. However, for the people that have been playing this game since it came to the United States, or even for people that's been playing it for as long as it's been out in Japan, I'm pretty sure you can name more cards, you know, or I'm pretty sure you would have more knowledge of cards that just should not have been made. It makes no sense. They weren't useful when they came into the game, and they're still not useful. And it's two cards in particular that I'm gonna be speaking about in this video. Now in this video, like I'm only gonna be speaking about 5 cards, but like I said, it's plenty of cards out there, but it's just 5 ones that, for the most part, it's just stupid as to why these cards were made. Now it's one or two that maybe it could be for, like, all for the monies, because you know that Konami likes their monies, but it's certain cards that are just like, the effects are just dumb, even for the era that they were introduced in. Now, I'm not just talking about this era of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm talking about like way before, like the Elemental Heroes came into, you know, of the game. So this is going way back. So the first card I'm gonna talk about is Steel Scorpion. Now this is a card, uh, which is one of the earliest cards back in Yu-Gi-Oh! And here, I'm gonna just read the card's effects to you. It's a non-machine type monster attacking Steel Scorpion will be destroyed at the end phase of your opponent's second turn after the attack. Now, it was a couple of cards that had some effects that were similar to Steel Scorpion, but I can't remember the names of them simply because they weren't worth playing and people just forgot about them. But when was it gonna? Because even back when this card was introduced, nobody kept their cards on the field. Nobody kept their monster cards on the field for that long, unless it was like their ace monster. You know what I mean? But really, getting your ace monster on the field, it was a bit challenging back then when this card was first introduced. Because like you couldn't just special summon a bunch of cards and you know, and like you guys didn't have your normal summons saved up from you doing all those special summons. So you had to wait turns. So the game was a lot slower back then. So even then, this card really wasn't helpful at all. Because on top of the fact that it only has 300 defense, it has 250 attack. I mean, really, you had cards back then that was normal monster cards that people still use today. They're level 4, had 1900 attack. I mean, this card is going to be off the field in no time, and chances are they're going to get rid of uh, their monster that was affected by Steel Scorpion's effect before this monster's effect even takes place. You know, so it's like the only possibility that this effect would even come in handy is when, like I said, your opponent's ace monster was out, and you know that monster is their ace monster, so they're trying to keep that monster on the field as much as possible. So that would be like the only possibility, but really, it's just like, it's not helpful. It really isn't. Like that is just like an ideal situation. But in actuality, nobody played Steel Scorpion. It was never no reason for anybody to play Steel Scorpion. I don't even think you can name a build in Yu-Gi-Oh, be it net deck or otherwise, that even bothered to play Steel Scorpion because it was just that irrelevant. So moving on. Next up, we have a card, and this is going to be one of the two cards that were that are actually that have actually been in the game since 1999 when the game came out in Japan. And I'm gonna talk more about that when I get to the second card. But this is Swordsman from a Distant Land. And this monster's effect is if this card attacked an opponent's monster after damage calculation, destroy that monster during the 5th end phase after the attack. Basically, for the same reason, pretty much this card is like a worse version of Steel Scorpion. And this is like another one of those cards that I was talking about when I was speaking about Steel Scorpion, that has a pretty much it has a similar activation, you know, and it's just not really it's just not worth using. You know what I mean? Like it's really just not worth using at the end of the day, because you have this weak monster that has an effect that destroys a monster the 5th end phase after the attack. What monster you know is going to stay on the field for the 5th end phase after the attack? You know what I mean? Now, mind you, again, this is going back to the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before the Elemental Heroes and all that came out. This is during this was during that slow era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me put on this wind guard. Hold on. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me good. But yeah, this was during like the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back when things were much slower, and even then, this card wasn't worth playing. You got a level 1 monster that it literally wasn't any benefit for you to play this card, because you wanted to get your opponent's monsters off the field as soon as possible. You know, wait until the 5th turn. Or basically just wait until the 5th end phase after the attack was made by a monster that was pretty much guaranteed to get destroyed. You know what I mean? And on top of that, this was the one that had to do the attacking. This card had to attack your opponent's monster in order for that to, you know, in order for you to get that effect. And then you start counting down the end phases. It's just like this is a level 1 monster with 250 attack, even with some power up cards. Even with some attack boosters. It's no way that this card is going to be beating any monster unless the opponent's monster just has like 0 attack or defense. But still, it's just like no, this card I feel literally should not have been made, because there's no reason or no, you know, I can't think of any situation where this card would even be remotely helpful. Like literally, it really shouldn't have been made. Next up is this second card, and it's funny because between Swordsman and Dark Artist, between those two cards, these cards have been in the game literally since the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! I believe. Now I'm talking about when it came out back in Japan, and all this time has passed in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just now realized we're just now getting these cards as OCG imports in uh, Legacy of the Valiant. Two cards which pretty much aren't helpful in this era of Yu-Gi-Oh! That we're in, not even by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, of course, with Dark Artists, but I'm gonna get to this in a minute. It's like there isn't any reason why these two cards would even like literally like what's the purpose? You know what I mean? Of bringing these cards into the TCG now. They could have just stayed over in the OCG. Who's gonna play these cards? Now let somebody just try to dare to be different and they want to make a fun deck between Swordsman and this card. It's just like the fucking OCG. They could have just kept it because it didn't make any sense to bring them to the TCG. But I digress. But yeah, Dark Artist is another one of those cards I feel should have never been made. And you guys see the effect right here. If this card is being attacked by a light monster, its defense is halved during the damage calculation only. So let me get this straight. On top of the fact that this has to be used against a light monster, when it gets attacked, the defense gets halved. What sense does that make? A monster is attacking you, or a light attribute monster is attacking this card, and you lower the defense. Now, I could think of some ideal situations. You know, maybe, you know, you lower the defense and then the attack and defense gets switched somehow, and maybe that's something. But let's be realistic here. Nobody's gonna be doing all that for this goddamn card. It's just what the hell were they thinking when they made this shit? You you have a monster that lowers the defense of the attacking monster of an attacking light monster, when two monsters that are being attacked, when the monster that's doing the attack points are what matter. So why would the defense get lowered? Like literally, like for what? Now the only use I can see this card having, to some degree, is to be used with tour guide. It's level 3 tour guide, can summon it from the deck, but it's better options, especially these days. It's better options, and even back then when the card first came out, it was no reason to play a card like this. It literally wasn't. It's just there. It's like they were trying to do something different and creative, and it just failed, and then they just ceased all operations on that effect. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just no, it's literally no situation where this card would be handy. It isn't, with the exception of the tour guide. But like I said, that kind of, like that ship has kind of sailed, since there's better options for tour guide to, you know, use on its effect. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's much better monsters that tour guide can special summon from the deck with that effect. And this is just one of those cards that really is a head scratcher, you know. But moving on. Now this next card pretty much just speaks for itself. It's not, I wouldn't say as useless as the last three cards that I was speaking on, but it's one of those cards that really lets you know that Konami is all about the monies. And of course, any business is all about the monies, but Konami is some greedy motherfuckers, and this card proves it. Sixth Sense is by far the single most overpowered piece of crap that was ever made for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was broken the moment that it was revealed. First off, let me read the effect to you. It say, declare two card numbers from 1 to 6, then your opponent rolls a six-sided die. And if the result is one of the numbers you declared, you draw that many cards. Otherwise, send a number of cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the result. Now, this is where they messed up with this card, when they allowed you to declare two card numbers. I mean, when they allowed you to declare two numbers on a die, you know, and then have your opponent roll it. Obviously, you're going to pick the two highest number, you know, the two highest numbers to ensure that you get the most draws, and you have the lowest numbers set to, that way you'll have the least amount of cards getting milled from your build. The problem with this card is that it gives you too many options. It's too many options, and it's not enough drawbacks. It really isn't. Because if you're going to have the person who's using the card be able to declare two numbers, that determines how many cards that you're able to draw. And everything else is just counted towards the number of cards that you got to send to the graveyard from your deck. It basically is in favor of the user so much that why do I even bother rolling the dice? You know what I mean? It's like there's little to no drawback with this card whatsoever. And again, the problem is that it gives the user too many options. It gives now if there was some reasonable, means and methods to using this card, and I mean real like reasons. I mean some real methods to go about using this card, some sensible methods. Ironically, it's called Sixth Sense, but it's not sensible whatsoever as to why the hell this card was made. Besides the monies, the monies, and it's just come on, Konami, like really. This is one of this and the next card I'm going to talk about. It's really just a head scratcher. Which brings me to this one. BL's King of Dark Dragons, a card that was recently released in Legacy of the Valiant. If I'm not mistaken, no, it was released in Premium Pack 16, my bad. Good thing I checked. But nevertheless, this is one of those crazy cards that they tried to put some type of drawback on it, but they gave it too much. You know what I mean? They gave it way too much. Now, I'm not going to say that it's broken. It's not broken, you know, but there's very few ways to stop it or to get this card off the field. Actually, there's only one way to get the card off the field, truth be told. But the one way to get it off the field is kind of pushing people to use those cards. So in that sense, I kind of see what Konami is doing. Like they're trying to get more people to buy those cards because they understand the way people think in this game. They know that if something overpowered or broken for that matter gets released, people are just going to eat it up, and that's just going to fill their pockets, you know. And they know that's going to push people to go find means to get a card like this off of the field. So cards like Dark Core, cards like Dimensional Prison, um, you know, just cards like that that can either just send the card to the graveyard or just banish it off of the field. Then, or what I'm saying, even with cards um, like a Fiendish Chain and Forbidden Chalice, cards that can negate the monster's effects. So actually, like, there's two ways to get this card off the field. Like, either you can just nullify its effects and you can um, just get it off the field normally, or you can just like I said, or you can just send it off of the field to either the graveyard or to the banish zone. And even with that being said, not every deck runs those types of cards. So in general, it's still a ridiculously overpowered piece of shit that I feel personally should have never been made, or at least they could have put some fucking drawbacks on this damn thing, because there is none. The only drawback is the monster's summoning requirement, which isn't really a drawback at all. You know what I mean? Like how many dark tuners you can put in any deck these days. You know what I mean? So with that being said, let me read the effect to you. One dark tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters. Description: cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. When you take damage from a battle involving this card or from an opponent's card effect, this card gains attack equal to the amount of damage you took. This card is the ultimate beat stick. Just to put it mildly, this card is like literally the ultimate beat stick. Oh, and it's another way you can get off the field. You can flip it face down with something, with like Swords of Concealing Light, and then using a monster effect to destroy that set card. Because while a monster is face down, uh, their effects aren't active. So I believe you would be able to destroy it while it's face down. You know what I mean? So that would be another way. But still, man, it's just like ridiculous. Like, come on, Konami. Like, you really, like, you can even watch my card review on this card. And I was just breathtaking by the fact that they actually made this. Like, it just caught me off guard. I'm just like, wow, dude. Like, they really just said, fuck it. So like, we just gonna make like one powerful piece of shit card. And they did that. And watch people use this like crazy. I'm running a bunch of dark. I'm running every, banished card and fucking and forbidden chalice cards that I never used before. I'm starting to run because of that one monster. And next up, we got Swarm of Crows. Now this one is more so along the lines of this really shouldn't have been made. When you look at Swarm of Crows, okay, it says cannot be special summoned from the deck. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense position. When this card is flipped face up, discard one random card from your opponent's hand. I mean, these days, discarding a card from your opponent's hand, that's not even really considered to be that useful of a monster effect these days because so many decks run well from the graveyard. You know what I mean? It's not really as devastating as it once was. So those effects don't come in handy as much as people would like to think. Um, and the fact that this is like a level 5 monster that only has only has 1200 attack, 1800 defense, it's not going to stay on the field for that long. You can't get it from the like the deck. Like you can't special summon it from the deck. Okay, I guess that's fair, but it's like a level 5 monster with an effect that really doesn't do anything these days. It's just like, you know, like like whatever, you know. And like this card is like unless you're making a specific type of build and you just need a level 5 wing beast dark monster, you know, that just to act as like a to act as in either a level fill-in or a type fill-in or even an attribute fill-in for that deck, you're not going to use this. Like you're really not going to bother with it because it's not worth running. It really isn't. Like it's another one of those cards that's just there and you wonder like why was this made? Like really like why was this made? But overall, like that silver lining in all of these cards is really just what the fuck. Be it that the effect doesn't do enough or the effect was never helpful, or be it that Konami's just looking for some fucking money and they know and they know that this is a big revenue booster for them. You know, not Swarm of Crows. I'm just speaking about just pretty much any card. You know, and I'm pretty sure it's plenty of other cards that should have never been made, such as Chaos Emperor Dragon. That's another one. Shit, cards like Fiber Jar, Substitute. But of course, these cards are banned. These days. Basically, cards that have either useful or useless effects that were either too good or just too petty, and they didn't do anything. You know, and it's crazy how many cards they have in the game. Like I'm barely scratching the surface of these cards. Like these are only just 5 cards that I could just think of at a moment's notice to do this video. It's plenty of other cards out there if you look, hard enough. And I'm pretty sure by now some people again that have been playing this game since the beginning. I'm talking about the beginning, both when it first came to the United States and when it was first introduced in Japan. You know, um, you guys probably thought about 10 cards, you know, by now. But, these are just a few of the cards, or like a handful of the cards that I felt should have never been made, or cards that should have been made better. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, thanks for all the people that's been supporting me for clicking ads. It is a terrible business model for anybody trying to make money, but for the people that understand that I am trying to improve this channel and I'm gonna need some funds to do that, and I'm not one of those people that to have like a PayPal set up and ask for donations or anything of that nature. Just click a couple ads. It does help, and I do appreciate it. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and peace, and see you guys for another Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 related video. Until next time.